Hey everyone, this is Ask the Pastor. People send me questions on the internet and I answer them. You can send me questions too. This one comes from Twitter. Jovial Gardenia asks, Pastor Senpai, I have a question. Do you have resources in which you recommend to expand my critical thinking and practice using the lens of Christian theology on media? To give background, I believe in the authority of the Bible, and yes, I read it every day. Great question. Is an especially good question for two reasons. One, because it seems like, Jovial, you almost set me up for some self-promotion there. One of the best resources I would recommend, which you can get up here, and there'll be a link at the end of the video, is Movie Pastor. That's a series that I do of videos in which every time I watch a movie, I think theologically about it and pay attention to the theological themes and what it looks like to engage that movie as a Christian, how to read it like a text in ways that we would read the Bible, and how to apply truths that we know as Christians to those movies. So, in part by watching me do that, that's one of the best ways that I know in the world, literally, to help learn how to apply the lens of Christian theology to the world around you. And I don't say that to be arrogant, like, oh yeah, I've got the best training program in the world. I started it because there was a lack, not because I'm the best or the smartest person who's the most able to think theologically in the world, but because, after going to graduate school and asking the question, like, you keep saying that word, you keep saying think theologically, what does that mean? And they'll be like, you think theologically. And I'll be like, yeah, but how though? And they'll be like, well, you just do it. And even when they give me resources, like, they were lame resources. They were like, well, think of like a Bible story that it reminds you of. Like, that's kind of part of it, but like, unless you're doing the why, and unless you're paying attention to like, how are these the same and different, and how do we interpret them, and what lens are we bringing, it doesn't really do the work. So I think the best thing, the way I ended up learning it, and the way I think you can learn it, is watch people thinking theologically. And if you want to think theologically about popular culture, and I don't blame you, I think that's a great idea, then yeah, watch people who are thinking theologically about popular culture. And I'm doing that publicly because I didn't know anybody else who was. So yeah, check out Movie Pastor. Meanwhile, I do want to give like some basic outlines that are maybe more than you would get otherwise. For one thing, it helps to have like a basis in theology, right? So know your Romans road, know your basics of salvation, have an answer that you want to give to what is the gospel. A lot of these are things that I've already done Ask the Pastor videos about. Those are worth checking out. And it's worth paying attention to a theological school, right? So like, where do you come from? What flavor of Christian are you? Knowing that helps you then apply that lens, because it's a lot easier to ask, how do I interpret this passage as a Wesleyan? Or how do I interpret this passage as a Calvinist? Than it is to ask, how do I interpret this passage as a Christian? But beyond all of that, I want to read to you, here's my Bible. I want to read to you a scripture, because I think this is really what it comes down to. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 21 and 22. So let no one boast about human leaders, for all things are yours, whether Paul or Apollos or Cephas, or the world, or life, or death, or the present, or the future, all belong to you, and you belong to Christ, and Christ belongs to God. And that that is the root. That is the main theological truth that I use to rely on and to trust. That's where I put my faith when I walk into a movie theater to see a movie I've never seen before, written by, acted by, directed by people who do not know Jesus. I trust that I'm going to be able to walk out with theological insight, because I know that when things are good, when things resonate, when things make sense to me, when there is beauty, when there is truth, when there is love, that it belongs to God, whether it was supposed to or not. All truth is God's truth. Wherever it is, wherever I find it, it belongs to me, and I get to claim it. And so if you trust in the authority of the Scripture, then you need to trust in the authority of the end of 1 Corinthians chapter 3. And if you trust that, then you can have confidence that wherever you go, whatever you find that's true, then you can take that truth and you can know that it belongs to you because it belongs to Christ, and that Christ belongs to God. There's no opportunity where we need to fear some new information that is going to rival Christ. It all belongs to Christ. And if you know that, then you have confidence, and with that confidence, you have the ability to play. And that is all I do with Movie Pastor day and night. I just play in the playground of truth to say, where are the things that are resonating? Where are the things that are making sense to people? And that's it. That's the whole ballgame. Hey, thanks for that question. If this answered your question, I hope you'll share it. If this did not answer your question, if you've got an objection or a problem with it, I hope you'll argue with me. And finally, if you've got another question, you can find me on Twitter at Ryan Gaffney, or in any other place where you can find me. You can comment on this video right here. I've got some other videos you might enjoy, and you can follow me here, and you can follow Movie Pastor there. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.